It is a natural signal of the mind, reminding us that something is unsettled, something is uncertain, something needs attention. But the problem arises when anxiety controls us instead of us learning to control it. The mind begins to race, the body feels restless, and peace seems far away. Yet remember, just as anxiety is learned through patterns of thought and behavior, peace can also be learned. It is not about escaping life, but about mastering the way you walk through it. Let me share with you 5 proven ways to manage anxiety. First, when anxiety rises, the first thing that changes in your body is your breathing. You may not notice it at first, but your breaths become short, shallow, and rushed. This small shift fuels the feeling of panic because the body begins to think it is under attack. The mind and body are deeply connected, and the breath is the bridge between them. If the breath is out of control, the mind becomes restless, and if the breath is calm, the mind begins to settle. This is why mastering your breathing is one of the most powerful tools to manage anxiety. It is not something outside of you. It is always available, always present, and always under your command. The simple act of slowing down your inhale and lengthening your exhale tells your body, I am safe, I am in control, I am calm. Think of the breath as an anchor when the storm of anxiety tries to pull you away. Every deep inhale draws your attention inward, grounding you in the present moment. Every long exhale releases tension, worry, and fear. By focusing on the rhythm of your breathing, you stop the endless cycle of anxious thoughts. You cannot always control what thoughts arise, but you can control your breath. And through the breath, you guide your mind back into balance. Even a few minutes of conscious breathing can shift the state of your body and reduce the intensity of your anxiety. It is a practice that requires awareness because the natural habit of the anxious mind is to forget the breath. But once you remind yourself, you take back control from the chaos. Breathing is not only a tool for calming anxiety in the moment, it is also a practice of training the mind and body to respond differently in the future. Just as the muscles grow stronger with exercise, your ability to manage anxiety grows stronger with consistent breath practice. Each time you choose to focus on your breathing instead of feeding your panic, you are rewiring your nervous system to remain calm under pressure. This practice slowly builds resilience so that future storms do not shake you as easily. Mastering your breathing is like sharpening a sword. You may not need it every moment, but when the time comes, it will be ready to protect you. The beauty of this practice is its simplicity. You do not need any equipment, any special environment, or any outside help. You carry the tool with you everywhere you go. Whether you are at home, at work, or standing in the middle of a crowded place, the breath is always available as your personal refuge. Many people search for external solutions to manage their anxiety, but they overlook this natural gift. True mastery is not about controlling the world outside of you. It is about learning to control the world inside of you. And the first step of that mastery is found in the quiet power of your own breath. Second, anxiety often grows because the mind is either living too much in the past or too much in the future. The past becomes a prison of regrets, mistakes, and painful memories that keep replaying in your head, while the future becomes a source of endless worries, imagining problems that may never even happen. In both cases, the present moment is forgotten, and yet the present moment is the only place where life truly exists. When the mind is lost in the past or trapped in the future, anxiety has room to grow, but when the mind learns to return to the present, anxiety loses its power. The present moment is simple, it is real, it is clear. There are no endless what-ifs in the present, only what is. Training the mind to be present does not mean ignoring your responsibilities or pretending problems do not exist. It means learning to focus fully on what is in front of you instead of scattering your energy in 1,000 directions. Something as simple as eating a meal can be an act of presence when you truly pay attention to the taste, the smell, the act of chewing. Walking can be an act of presence when you notice the feeling of your steps and the rhythm of your body. Even breathing, as simple as it is, can be an act of presence when you give it your full attention. These small practices teach your mind to return again and again to the moment where life actually unfolds. When you practice presence, you begin to notice that anxiety is often built on illusions. The future you fear has not yet arrived, and the past you regret cannot be changed. Both exist only in your imagination, but the present moment is solid. It is the ground beneath your feet, the air filling your lungs, the sound of life happening around you. The more you train yourself to stay in this reality, the less power your illusions have over you. The anxious mind will try to pull you away again and again, but with gentle awareness you can guide it back. This is not a one-time effort. It is a daily practice, like training a muscle that has been weak for too long. Each time you return to the present, you grow stronger. The greatest gift of learning to live in the present is peace. Peace is not found by solving every problem or controlling every outcome. Peace is found by resting in this moment, by giving your full attention to what is real instead of being consumed by what is imagined. Life becomes lighter, clearer, and more manageable when you stop carrying the weight of yesterday and the fear of tomorrow. When the mind is fully here, anxiety has no space to survive. And slowly, as this practice becomes part of your daily life, you discover that the present moment is not just a place of refuge. It is the only true home of the human spirit. THIRD, OS, one of the deepest roots of anxiety is the constant struggle to control everything in life. The human mind wants certainty. It wants assurance that tomorrow will go exactly as planned. But life is never that predictable. When we try to control what is outside of our reach, other people's actions, the changing world, the unknown future, we end up exhausting ourselves and feeding anxiety. It is like trying to hold water tightly in your hand. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Real strength begins with recognizing the simple truth. Some things are within our influence, and some things are not. The more you waste energy on what you cannot change, the less power you have to transform what you actually can. Anxiety often comes from confusing these two areas. For example, you cannot control whether people will always like you, but you can control how kindly you speak and how honestly you behave. You cannot control whether the economy rises or falls, but you can control how wisely you spend, save, and prepare. You cannot control every outcome of your health, but you can control the habits that build strength in your body and mind. The ability to separate what is within your control from what is beyond your reach is like finding clarity in a storm. Suddenly the mind knows where to focus, and anxiety begins to lose its endless power. This clarity is not about weakness or giving up. It is about directing your energy with wisdom. The moment you accept what you cannot control, something remarkable happens. You feel lighter. Acceptance does not mean liking or approving of everything that happens. It means acknowledging reality instead of fighting against it. The storm may come, but if you waste energy shouting at the sky, the rain will not stop. Instead, you learn to shelter yourself, to prepare, to respond wisely. Anxiety grows when you resist what is already true, when you keep asking, why me? Why now? Why this? But peace grows when you say, this is what is happening. Now, how can I respond? Acceptance is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to face reality as it is, and to stop escaping into endless fear and denial. When you combine acceptance with control over your own actions, you find balance. Life no longer feels like an enemy to fight against, but a flow to move with. You stop wasting time trying to rearrange the uncontrollable, and instead you build discipline over your thoughts, your habits, your choices. Anxiety cannot survive in this balance because it feeds on resistance and fear of the unknown. The more you focus on your circle of influence, the more empowered you become. And slowly, you learn the greatest lesson. Peace is not the absence of problems, but the wisdom to face what is yours to face and to let go of what was never in your hands. As anxiety thrives in disorder. When your life has no rhythm, no anchor, no stable habits to guide your day, the mind begins to wander aimlessly. It constantly looks for what could go wrong. It feels restless and uneasy because there is nothing to ground it. This is why building healthy routines is so powerful. A routine may seem simple from the outside, but it is like giving the mind a map in a world of confusion. When you wake up and know what your morning will look like, when you have certain practices that guide your day, you reduce uncertainty, and with less uncertainty, there is less room for anxiety to grow. Order in daily life becomes order in the mind. Think of small but consistent habits, like waking up at the same time, practicing a short meditation, or breathing exercise, eating healthy meals at regular intervals, or dedicating time for movement and exercise. These may look ordinary, but they create stability. Each healthy habit tells the mind, I am in control of this part of my life. And once the mind experiences control in small areas, it no longer feels overwhelmed by the larger, uncontrollable aspects of existence. Anxiety loses its grip because the mind begins to experience proof that discipline creates calm. A structured day is not about limiting your freedom. It is about giving you a foundation so that your freedom does not become chaos. Routines also protect your mental energy. Every decision you make consumes a little strength from the mind. If you wake up with no plan, your entire day is filled with micro decisions. When should I eat? When should I exercise? What should I focus on first? This constant decision making drains your mental energy and leaves you vulnerable to stress and anxiety. But when routines are in place, these decisions are already made. You follow the path you built for yourself, and the mind has space to rest. This mental rest creates room for clarity, for creativity, and for peace. Anxiety is less likely to take hold when the mind is not constantly exhausted from unnecessary choices. Healthy routines also give you rituals of strength. For example, starting the day with a morning walk or meditation becomes more than just a habit. It becomes a reminder that you are capable of setting the tone for your life. Ending the day with journaling or reflection becomes more than just writing. It becomes a way to release the weight of the day and prepare for rest. These rituals anchor you in moments of stillness and give you something reliable in a world that is always changing. Anxiety feeds on unpredictability, but rituals become your unshakable ground. They remind you that no matter what storms arrive, you still have anchors to return to. Most importantly, healthy routines train the mind to trust itself. When you follow your routines, you keep promises to yourself. And each time you keep a promise, your confidence grows. Confidence is the opposite of anxiety. It tells the mind, I am capable of handling what comes. Over time, routines become more than just daily habits. They become the invisible support system that carries you through life. You stop waking up each day feeling lost because you know where to begin, how to progress, and how to end. Anxiety loses its strength not because life becomes perfect, but because you have built stability in yourself. And when you are stable, no storm outside can easily shake you within. Why so many people live with anxiety? Because they are constantly at war with themselves. They punish themselves for past mistakes, criticize themselves for not being good enough, and demand perfection from a human heart that was never designed to be perfect. This inner conflict becomes the fuel that keeps anxiety alive. If your mind feels like an enemy, then even the smallest challenge in life becomes unbearable. Practicing self-compassion and acceptance is about ending this war. It is about choosing to treat yourself with the same kindness and patience that you would naturally give to someone you love. Anxiety begins to soften when the harsh voice inside is replaced with a gentler one that says, you are trying, you are learning, you are human, and that is enough. Self-compassion does not mean ignoring your flaws or pretending you do not have weaknesses. It means acknowledging that mistakes and struggles are part of the human journey. Everyone fails. Everyone makes wrong choices. Everyone faces moments of doubt and weakness. Yet when it comes to ourselves, we often act as if we should be different, as if we should never fall. This unrealistic expectation creates endless pressure and feeds anxiety. Acceptance is the antidote. Acceptance says, I am not perfect, and I was never meant to be. I am allowed to fall, and I am allowed to rise again. When you stop expecting yourself to carry the impossible weight of perfection, your heart feels lighter, and your mind finds space to breathe. Learning to speak kindly to yourself is a powerful act of healing. The words you repeat in your mind become the environment your soul lives in. If those words are filled with judgment, shame, and self-hate, then your inner world will always be filled with tension and anxiety. But if your inner voice begins to sound more like encouragement, patience, and forgiveness, then the mind becomes a safer place to be. Even simple practices like pausing to tell yourself, "It's okay, I am doing my best," can shift the entire direction of your thoughts. Anxiety often grows from the belief that you are not enough. But compassion reminds you that enough is not about perfection. It is about sincerity, effort, and growth. When you practice acceptance, you stop fighting reality. Many people are anxious because they cannot accept who they are, where they are, or what they have been through. They keep wishing for a different past, a different body, a different life. But this resistance only creates more suffering. Acceptance is not resignation. It is the courage to face reality honestly. It is the wisdom to say, "This is my starting point. I cannot change what has already happened, but I can choose how I move forward." In this way, acceptance becomes the doorway to freedom. Anxiety loses its strength when you stop trying to rewrite the unchangeable and instead focus on shaping the present moment with clarity and compassion. Self-compassion also builds resilience. Life will always bring challenges, pain, and moments of failure. Without compassion, every stumble feels like proof that you are worthless. But with compassion, every stumble becomes a lesson, a reminder that growth often requires falling before standing tall. Anxiety cannot dominate a mind that sees challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to its worth. When you are kind to yourself, setbacks lose their power to break you. Instead, they become stepping stones that strengthen your character and deepen your understanding of life. Compassion does not make you weak. It makes you unshakable because you no longer depend on perfection to feel worthy. Over time, practicing self-compassion and acceptance transforms the way you live. You begin to trust yourself, not because you are flawless, but because you know you will treat yourself with kindness no matter what happens. Anxiety fades when the mind is no longer a battlefield, but a safe place of support and encouragement. This inner safety allows you to face the outside world with more calmness, more courage, and more strength. You stop running from yourself, and instead you stand with yourself. And in that alignment, you discover one of the greatest truths: peace is not found in being perfect, but in being fully human and loving yourself through it all.